Now up next, our panel discussion will focus on innovation in action, technology as a catalyst shaping talent strategies for innovation. The session will examine how organizations are identifying emerging skills, building innovation-driven cultures, and gearing up for the future of work. As AI and breakthrough technologies transform industries at speed, how can organizations future-proof their latest talent strategies and stay ahead? Now, please join me in welcoming to the stage Ms. Basima ABDULRAHMAN, founder and CEO of KESK, to join us. Please welcome her. Next, we have Mr. Omran ALSHAMSI, AI Officer, Director of the Labor Market Information Department, Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratisation, United Arab Emirates. On the panel, we also have Mr. Evan AUYANG, Group President, Animoca Brands. Ms. Venetia LEE, CEO, Alipay Hong Kong, General Manager, and Ant International Greater China. Next, let's put your hands together to welcome our panel member, including Dr. Dahua LIN, co-founder, Chief Scientist of SenseTime Group Limited. And moderating the session for us, we have Ms. Carol Yu, Founding Partner and Senior Vice President, Shenzhen InnoX Academy. Let's give them a big round of applause. Welcome again to our panel members, and over to you, Ms. Yu.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our technology panel, which we're very excited to learn from all of our panelists. Some say that, we're living in a world where we're going through the fastest technological evolution today, but also the slowest technological evolution in the rest of our lives. And we're seeing that acceleration occur. So we are not just seeing a normal, hiring cycle right now. We're seeing a structural, polarization and also opportunity reset. So in this era, we're seeing the architecture of opportunity itself transforming, not just the transformation of industries. So, we feel hopeful and also chaotic at the same time. And the paradox is real. So today, in our discussions, I hope to focus not just on, AI on a very macro level, but, inside organizations, how AI is actually driving organizational growth, how AI is, changing the way that we hire, upskill, structure teams, and also inside the labor market, how AI is restructuring, career pathways and redefining opportunities and the need for talent. So I'm very excited to talk to my fellow panelists. So to begin, I think we'll discuss the redefinition of talent. So for all my panelists, I want to ask, in the past 5 years, right, especially with the impact of AI, how are you redefining talent? Are you hiring differently? Are you structuring teams differently? How are you thinking about this? So anyone who wants to answer. Yeah.
Definitely, I can start. Thank you so much. This is really interesting panel because we have to talk about tech, innovation, talent in the era of AI. Today, in the past, and for the future development. So when we used to think around talent in the past, we used to look at expertise in the subject matter, the graduation from relevant, let's say, university, and the number of years of experience, the hands-on experience. It's really, really important during the hiring process. So it was more about expertise, right? Today, after years of knowledge and development in the AI and the information is out there for all sectors and all disciplines, today adaptability and flexibility skills, in addition to the expertise, are important. We still want talent that are expert in one topic, but also have curiosity to look at cross disciplines. This is really important. So the critical thinking, the problem solving of having access to all the information and all the tools that today we have, AI is able to do almost everything. So the talent should be important to first harvest these tools, get access to these tools. Like I just, a couple of weeks ago, I've heard about some new AI tool that actually you can give them access. I don't want to mention the name, so this would not be like some sort of advertisement, but they can access and look into your, for example, you give them access to your web and they go find any issue and tell you where to fix it. You don't even need a web developer anymore. So what's important is the curiosity to learn about these tools, and also the ability to, since you're becoming extremely productive in delivering the tasks, is how you use critical thinking. And that's, I think, one of the main changes that took place in the last 5 years.
First of all, thank you all for inviting me here at this summit. I'm excited to join from the United Arab Emirates just to provide my talk in the talent aspect. I think what Basima said is very important. We used to think about talent as who has the most experience, who knows much about a certain aspect. Yes, that is important. We do need experts in certain fields. But the way we see it is that talent is also in finding those who are willing to learn, those who say, yes, I don't know about this. Yes, I'm not afraid to say that I don't know about this, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to expand my knowledge in that area. Now, AI, when it was introduced, yes, it was targeting some certain fields. So people with knowledge, maybe you might not need them much because knowledge you can find in LLMs. You can just get the knowledge fast. What you cannot get from AI is the reasoning or the logic. Having someone who can think with you, someone who can reason, someone who can give a decision, rather than just someone who can provide information. I think this is the kind of talent that organizations are still missing. And this is why, even with the introduction of AI, it doesn't necessarily target or kill jobs. It actually introduces new jobs, new opportunities, new ways of thinking. So even in terms of hiring in an organization has changed a little bit. Rather than just hunting for the best or the most talented person immediately, it's about a balance. It's about hiring someone who's an expert, but at the same time, fostering this environment that allows people to learn and gain knowledge. So I think it's a mixture of all these aspects.
Yeah, I think let's look at hiring traditionally as kind of like what does CV say, what does the LinkedIn say, right? So you can start with me. So I suppose I went to the right schools, quote unquote, right? A top US high school, Ivy League, top MBA program. None of this stuff matters anymore in terms of how I hire, especially in the tech industry. I used to work for McKinsey, and it is true that only 1 in 10,000 gets in. I used to screen CVs, and it used to be like if you're not at those universities like Beida, Tsinghua, Jiao Tong, and then some of the Ivies, you just get screened out. Now when I interview, I don't care. I don't even look at that. It's really about understanding where your motivations are. My first 5 questions are all about motivation. Why are you interested? What do you know about us? What is your demonstrated interest? It's all literally about your willingness to learn and be agile, right? And in fact, if you come from an Ivy, I might have a discount because I'm like, are you going to be someone who is very difficult to be managed, right? And by the way, exactly what you said, not knowing the answer is actually the right thing. I used to be interviewed myself about something that's more technical. Oh, do you know this or do you know that? You've experienced this and that. It doesn't matter because Perplexity is going to give you the answer. And we haven't even talked about agents yet, right? This is completely transformed in terms of how AI has changed how hiring is, right? And for us in the Web3 space, we really literally care only about demonstrated interest. And by the way, it is not difficult for currently an 18-year-old, I literally mean this, an intern who we hire to be outperforming a 35-year-old who has a lot of experience, just because that person has that passion. So whereas we do a lot of Zoom interviews because we hire talent from all over the world, when you are in face-to-face, the interview turns into an energy sensing exercise, which is what I mean a lot of my contemporaries also do. You literally sit across and you're trying to sense what this person's energy is. Whereas you can't get it from Zoom, you're kind of like, you're sucking in sort of like the authenticity, what vibes you're getting, and then you're like, do I feel that I want to be in the room with this person, right? So it changed a lot. Of course, the human side of it is not done by AI. Screening can be done by AI, and code can be written by AI, but I think how we hire completely changed.
It's very interesting that the traditional markers that HR look for, right, the CVs, the schools, those are becoming weaker signals. But actually, not just the technical expertise, but the human part of things, that, you know, what you mentioned, the authenticity, creativity, the energy. So those parts are actually not discernible by AI in a way. So still need to be done by humans.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, the part about humans, about making a judgment or empathy is there. But one thing that we haven't talked about, which we're going to later, is the rise of agents. Because even when GTS is put together, I think we haven't gotten into, and a lot of speakers heard today about how universities still matter, and I do believe in that, but I think the roles completely change as well. Because when we're in the age of agentic AI, you're talking about a rise of a new consumer class. And I would love to elaborate on that a little bit later on as well, because the next person who buys from you is not human. It's buying based on code, right? So when people sort of look for, you know, Amazon and how has that disrupted at least US consumer space, you actually see that it's really about price comparison, it's about all the efficiencies that you have, but later on, machines will be buying it and people have agents deployed against it. So your next agent is not necessarily buying based on the emotion. So that marketing needs to change as well. Now, if you go into sort of like going back to hiring, you need to hire people who understands what the next steps will look like, what are possible future paths, right? Now, in Hong Kong, we're still into sort of manpower planning, into sort of like all of these numbers about how do we move the masses around. But this agentic AI is actually going to create a huge digital divide, right? Looking at people who are actually openly sort of embracing OpenClaw, looking at other solutions, experiment on it, even though it's quote unquote dangerous. If you don't go into it, you'll be left behind, right? And this is at the time when agentic AI comes in. It's not about replacing low-level talent. It's about replacing white-collar talent, right? And once you get more and more into that, then you have to think about why you're hiring only for attitude. It's because whatever you learn in school and whatever previous experience you have, the half-life of it is shortened so much that you can't rely on the experience alone anymore. It's really about your agility and your attitude.
Venetia?
So, you know, we at Alipay Hong Kong, we're actually a super app for Hong Kong consumers, starting with a digital payment, now evolving to an app of, you know, many services for a one-stop shop. I would quantify ourselves as a fintech firm, okay? Thus, I think we are very much leading or at least following on new technology. I think that's a must, right? So with our company hiring, right? Lately, I think AI literacy is a must, right? You know, even prompt engineering and lately skill engineering is almost a must. So I think this is sort of new hire. We ask for these as a must skills criteria. So understanding the capabilities, the limitations, right? And having the critical skills to know how to delegate and use it. No matter what type of function of jobs, this is a basic skills, right? Second, I do think it's the interpersonal skills, organizational skills are also extremely important because I think at the basic of doing a lot of research, analysis, producing sort of routine type of tasks can be easily replaced. But sort of more complex navigating around organizational intricacies, influencing the stakeholders, right? Leading team with empathy or through ambiguity. Inspire, I think those are the things that is important and still very much we need people, right? So that's why I was listening to the previous session around university, right? I truly think it's still very important for university because I think a lot of these interpersonal skills, organizational skills, right? You actually build it through also through university. It's almost like we call it in the fintech world, right? We always have this sandbox. We work with regulators where you have sandbox to test bed some new applications before you do a full launch, right? It's more of like a safety net and you know, controlled losses. University is almost like that too, right? So I think it's important for youngsters when they go to universities, right? It's not just books and studies, but how do you participate in different type of activities, leaderships, clubs? You know, those are also a test bed to sort of beef up your interpersonal and organizational skills, which are critical for success in the real world. So I think those are the things we're looking for.
So what defines a talent? I think this is one of the most important questions in this era. Especially all know that AI is evolving in an extremely fast rate. So my opinion can be simply put into one sentence. From our view, talents are those people who will define the future. So to put it more specifically, let's try to understand what are the key differences between human and AI. Okay. So we all know that AI learn from no matter in which kind of algorithms, unsupervised learning or reinforcement learning, they learn from the past. So AI can do what we have already done in the past, thousands of years, very well, much more efficient than human. But AI cannot do something that we have never seen before. And that's the value of human or talents lies in. So in terms of talents, to define the future, I think this sentence can involve two aspects. The first aspect is that you should have the capability of asking the right question or asking a different question. So for example, 3 years ago, and OpenAI launched something that profoundly changed our world, that's ChatGPT, right? And then nowadays, if there's young people who come to me and say that I want to make another ChatGPT, then I don't think that's a good question to ask today. But if you try to ask, what is the boundary of ChatGPT? And can we actually build something that can move beyond this boundary? Then I think that could be a valuable question. So that's the first part, ask the right question. And the question that can lead to a different future. And then the second part is that you should have the capability of turning your ideas, whatever bold ideas, into something real. And so in this part, I think all the AI tools, for example, the agentic AI, OpenClaw, Cloud Code, and all these kind of tools can come into play. And then you can try your best to leverage all these tools to build a software, to build your system, to build your new business models in a rate that is much faster than before. So what I would see that real talent, they will spend maybe 80% of the time to talk to people, to come up with new ideas. And then 20% of time to engage with a network of agents to really realize the idea. Yeah.
It's very interesting that all of our speakers mentioned on the human capabilities of things, even though in the market we're seeing the demand for all these technical jobs rising and the compensation that people would pay for all these top technical talents are rising. So in actual hiring, I would want to ask Dahua to start because SenseTime does a serious AI research. So when you actually do the hiring, how much weight do you put on the technical excellency versus the other human capabilities that you just mentioned? And what kind of human capabilities do you really think that is non-negotiable to even do AI research?
And in our hiring process, usually there's multiple stages. In the first stage, yes, of course, we will actually try to test the candidates' capability of using the tools to build software. So usually, the first question that we put to give to the candidate is that, so we'll actually try to set up a question. You build a software system in 2 days. And then the system usually will take a team of software engineers 2 weeks to build. And then you have to come up with the system to me in 2 days, using whatever AI tools that you can use. But that's just the first step in the interview. And then the second step, I would directly talk to the candidate, and to see whether, as I just said, they can actually try to ask questions that I have never think about before. Okay? And that's very important. If a candidate keep actually trying to say they do something that other people have done 1,000 times before, then I will have a very red flag for me that whether they have the capability to really innovate in our work, in this work in SenseTime. So that's very important. So I would say that we, as a 2 parts. The first part, we will test its capability of harnessing all the AI tools to do something much more efficiently than before. And then the second step is really have the spirit of innovating, to ask different questions, or even for the same question, they can have different insights. And that part, I think, is very important. And also, I think another important, what we call as a soft skill, is that can you communicate effectively to people, especially when you have a different idea. Can you communicate your idea effectively to people, to your customers, to your partners, so that you can get your ideas through?
That's wonderful. So real world scenario, project-based learning, learn as you do it, and also asking questions to push for boundaries. That's great. So Basima, so your company operates across both physical infrastructure and installing solar panels on the ground, and also AI-powered software for monitoring and optimizing energy use. So as AI tools grow more capable, how are you rethinking about what your team needs to look like, and what kind of talent do you need to really be able to work cross-disciplinary on so many different fields?
Thank you so much. Actually, this is a very good example of how the human aspect is going to still be needed. For example, in our sector, in the solar energy sector, skilled force is still extremely important. We still need human to take the panels to the end user, deliver the materials, install these solar panels, extend the wiring, configure the system, install the inverters. If batteries are needed, also need to be configured and also installed, and all the electrical and mechanical works required. So in our sector, it is a very clear, and in my business model and our company's business model, it's very clear how the synergies between the physical assets and the physical infrastructure with the digital infrastructure come together, where the installation and the construction work is needed, but also we have this cloud-based, AI-powered software solution that needs to be configured and connected to the solar energy asset in the field and in a remote area, and to be centralized in one digital platform and translated into data, information, and numbers such as kilowatt hour consumed, storage capacity, CO2 offset, all the parameters, thousands of parameters that are translated into charts and numbers to the end user, and also for our own use. So what we do usually is we still need to hire the teams from specific expertise, engineering, software, or installation. But also these teams need to be able to collaborate and work together. So the engineer who is specialized in installing and configuring the solar energy assets need to be able to translate to the software developer what protocols are being used in this asset, and how can this be translated through the hardware component into the software. So finding this common ground and learning, because not necessarily the engineer who comes with a solar energy or energy engineering background would understand software or how to translate parameters from an inverter into a dashboard for a software developer to present the data. And also vice versa, the software developer not necessarily is familiar with solar energy assets. So here, the curiosity and the openness to learn and learn while implementing and working and developing was the core of what we were doing in the past years. It was an ongoing process, and there's no way like our software engineers has graduated from university knowing everything related to IoT-powered systems and how to integrate and bring the AI tool to help optimize solar energy assets that never been controlled by AI before. They were programmed by the engineers and they were told to behave in a specific way, but now there is an AI tool need to be trained to teach and control those assets and tell them how to become more efficient in consumption, in storage, and learning from different geographies, the weather conditions in specific geographies, and how this affects the generation and the production of the solar energy assets. I don't want to complicate it to you, but this is an example of how we bring expertise, but also we're structuring teams that can work and collaborate together with one mission, which is to help in the accelerating transition to renewable energy and reducing the carbon offset footprint.
So I guess it's like, you know, if we make an analogy, you know, AI, it's kind of like a cameraman in the old days, right? So you do not just need the cameraman who knows one area of expertise very, very well, but you need the director who can coordinate, right, all the hardware, all the software, the intricacy of the organization, and who has a clear vision to lead the team towards, which is very interesting. And for Evan, Web3 is an entirely new industry that didn't exist, you know, a decade ago. So how do you, when you think about hiring, how do you evaluate talents for roles that didn't exist, you know, a decade ago? And also, what kind of lesson can other industries learn from this?
Well, I'll argue that, you know, blockchain, Web3 existed probably 15, 20 years ago as well, and so did AI, but it's just that nowadays it's just come to the forefront, right? So you're right, that the key is that how do you have talent that we wouldn't have the experience, right? Again, I sort of like alluded to it earlier, which is that you got to hire for attitude ultimately, right? Because once you're applying for a job, the first question is, you know, why you're interested. That's the first thing, right? Tell me why. Second question is, what have you done about it, right? Because whatever you've said in your CV in the past year, let's say you're Solidity, you know, coder for Ethereum, relevant, but you know, how good can you be? And if you're already well known, then you know we'll know you already. Otherwise, you're learning. Or if it's not, if it's a general business talent, then it's about, you know, what have you done about it? And then thirdly, well, what if you fail, right? Then what are you going to do? Are you committed to this? You're sensing commitment. And then fourth, what does great look like for you in terms of this? You're trying to sense commitment, you're trying to understand the whole reason about the 5 whys, if you will, about a particular person, particularly for senior people, right? So you are looking for people who are able to learn ultimately, right? And in the age of AI, which we're applying a lot because we are, again, you're under Animoca Brands, we're a portfolio of 600 portfolio companies, and we're doing consumer AI, we're doing consumer blockchain, we're doing institutional you know, real world assets as well. So all of this stuff is all new, right? So you can't really hire for it. The only way you can do it is to sort of like tangentially look at what are the experiences there, and then how can you apply more broadly to multiple new areas that you getting into. And the job that we hire for often isn't the job where they end up to be anyway, right? So, and also for most of the people, because we apply AI so much nowadays in our work, it's really about looking for people who are able to orchestrate resources, right? Orchestrate is leadership, not only in terms of human beings, but also in terms of AI. You know, how much you use AI. Now it's a requirement that you are very AI conversant, right? Before you can actually get a job in our company, because that's where things are going. You have to embrace it. And of course, there are people still in the company who are resistant, right? And that is somewhat surprising. But you know, it does exist because, you know, it just moves very quickly. But again, I also want to mention that agentic AI has just begun in the last 4 to 6 weeks, ever since OpenClaw came in. Again, we believe that, you know, the age of personalized AI is coming in, which I think it has, and this is only the beginning, and people find OpenClaw very difficult to use. You have to have some technical background, yes, but all of those in a box, you know, the whole lobster, you know, event in Shenzhen, in Shanghai, that's really real, and people are building, you know, completely automated businesses on complete automation, agentic AI. And people are building bots that trade on various exchanges autonomously and profiting from it every single day. And these are all very real, and we have to embrace that as a new normal. And if we're not prepared for it, and people are not prepared for it, you're absolutely left behind. And this is the time when even you're separating the top 1% from the rest of the top 5%, right? So a lot is changing.
But you know, AI in the AI era is not just about using the AI tools, but how you redesign organization based on AI. So can you talk about maybe one AI deployment that you're doing at your company that you actually roll out and you know, measurably impacted productivity or cost structure or speed to market?
So we launched Animoca Minds.ai. You can go on the website right now and try it. It is agentic, and whereas OpenClaw is on your own computer, this is cloud-based. And what it does is that, by the way, let me just admit it, it's like it's always going to be initially, it's going to be clunky because it's going to ask you a lot of questions. So you launch a mind, it's like you're almost like you're always launching a baby into it. You got to train the baby, right? You can have one that does your travel, does one that have your calendar. I have one that actually monitors the Middle East conflict, and it does signals. I have one that looks at different trading patterns of different cryptocurrencies, and it alerts me when the last large on-chain transactions that are abnormal. So it's completely transformative. And we're talking about productivity, about folks that normally would take 3 to 4 people, now it takes 0, right? And the company sees it, and some people are actually naturally even scared about it. But we're activating the entire company into trying and training the different models. And ultimately, the reason we're doing this is because if you look into the future, think about one person having multiple AI agents, because this is the trend, right? And then that multiplied by the crossover between AI and blockchain is actually tremendously powerful. Thinking through how agents actually cannot access your accounts because it's on biometric and all of that, but you can certainly delegate blockchain wallets and programmatically allow the agents to tap on your wallet to make purchases. And this is what's happening already. And some people are just trying to experiment to order lunch on Kita, for example, right? Just program that for me and learn your habits and thus order lunch for you every day. And some people derive great satisfaction from that. But this is just the initial applications, right, that people are doing, but it's transformative in the sense that you can just see what the future looks like already, and we'll see more and more of this productivity, right?
And Venetia, Alipay is also in fintech in a relatively highly regulated environment. So how do you drive for AI experimentation, you know, taking in mind of, you know, compliance and risk control?
So I think first off is obviously we are a regulated business, right? I think it is important for all employees to be trained and continuously educated on what are the regulations, what are the compliance boundaries. So this is a must. So we do those kind of regular training and update and making sure people are aware of what are the boundaries, right? That's whether you have AI or not, we continue to doing that. And then second is we encourage employees to kind of come up with creative ideas, new products, but we also have a very prudent process to do new product vetting. I think that's where we have various different committees with experts to sort of based on these rules and regulations to kind of chime in with their special assessment and judgment on, are they compliant or not, and are they sort of stepping on the gray area, right? But third is we also continue to keep an open dialogue with regulators, right? Hong Kong MA is our government body, and they're actually extremely supportive of new innovations. So I think it's open dialogue, keeping a very transparency is important, because I think things are evolving so quickly. Sometimes are not black and white, right? But I think Hong Kong here, I think the regulators are also very supportive of these sandbox environments, right? They're keeping sort of say, hey, if there are things that is still sort of not as sure, open to testbed, sandbox, control environment before massive rollout. So I do felt like, so Hong Kong has a very good environment with support of the government and regulators to foster that kind of innovation. And I think it is important, right? So we want to move fast, but we definitely also want to move in a controlled and safe fashion.
And Omran, moving to the UAE, in your role as Chief AI Officer, you focus on integrating AI into the national labor systems. And UAE is very forward-looking on this. I have some friends in the AI university in the UAE, and they said that demand is so much more that they can supply on, training the government officials, executives on AI. So how are you seeing AI reshaping the labor market? And what are you doing about it?
Yes, very good. So that's a great question. And I think you're referring to the MBZ UAE, which is a strong university in AI. I think since I started this role, so 5 years ago, when I worked on this AI field, we didn't have this many tools or agents that we see right now. 5 years ago, we're still exploring AI and the policies and how is it easy to implement in the government, and how much work is needed for each government to actually transform its digital transformation. We used to think that it's a huge amount of work for us to do that. But fast forward 5 years later, so right now, we have so many agents that actually simplify this. Right now, I, as a director of labor market information, I have a look at the whole workforce. I can see exactly the kind of skills and demand and supply in the market. Using AI, using the advanced technology, I can identify the kind of sectors which are growing and sectors which are declining. Now, without AI, without these advanced analytics, you wouldn't be able to forecast what would happen in the market. Now, what do you do with this information? Now, definitely we need to work with the education sector to understand that some sectors, some economic sector like business or finance or technology are actually emerging, which means that the education sector need to focus it more in the universities. I enjoyed the previous session because they talked a lot about the education part and the fostering this kind of environment that allows people to keep learning and advance their skills. Now, again, with this kind of advanced analytics, with this kind of AI and what we have at the university, at the ministry, we need to talk to the universities to introduce some certain subjects and courses so that we can make sure that the students can speed up and learn exactly what the kind of market is needed. So I think there's so many agents right now that help us, really. And if people are worried about losing their jobs, yes, some jobs will disappear, some. I'm talking about entry level. I'm talking about routine kind of jobs. What does that mean? It means that AI is introducing new opportunities. It is actually focusing our skills from this direction into a little bit different direction, rather than trying to say, no, I'm going to keep these jobs. No, it's not about keeping these jobs. Now, jobs are being taken by AI. what do you do to enhance these other jobs? How do you introduce opportunities while people are reskilled so that they can use these agents to enhance their skills? So a lot of exciting stuff are happening actually there with the introduction of AI.
Yeah, very exciting. But I think on the society as a whole, people are not just anxious about losing jobs, but people are worried about a structural shift that people are seeing. I just spent quite some time in Silicon Valley the past few months, and what I'm seeing is, for the top AI, jobs, people are fighting for it. People are fighting for talent with like crazy compensation, but the entry-level jobs are shrinking. Because it's replaceable by a lot of the, the AI tools, a lot of the junior roles. So, people always say that, oh, if you become the best in your sector, you won't be replaced by AI. But that said, everyone needs to be offered a starting point, right? The entry-level opportunity in order to accumulate experience. So, for all the guests, how are you seeing that structural change? Are you hiring less, junior roles? How does your talent pyramid look like now versus like 5 years ago?
So yes.
Anyone?
Yeah. So I mean, just to continue my thought process. So think about it. You as a leader in a company. So if you only hire the top end, the experts, the best of the best, and these people, then they retire or they lose, you lose them or they go to different jobs. What do you do, Alexa? Who is the next senior person in your organization? So it's always like that. You always need to think about it that, yes, I need the experts because they're going to solve the problems of right now. But I need entry-level jobs. I need some talent that will help me think about tomorrow's kind of problem. I need these talent which I hire to be able to learn from the experts so that at least they can complement each other. You have the futuristic point of view from the talent, but you have also the expert knowledge from the experts. And you also have the AI as an agent, as a tool to help speed up these futuristic talent into how to go quickly into the experts. So I think if you only hire the experts, then you're still going to suffer in the next, maybe not now, but the next 5 years. So I think you need both. Sorry, Evan.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just going to add on what you have to say. Yes, the entry-level job is completely restructured, and I'm genuinely worried about how we think about youth, education. I think we're totally not ready. I think universities are not necessarily preparing the youngsters for the next wave, right? And I think high schools are not. I think the way we do education curriculum is very dated, and we have to rethink all of that in the age of AI. In fact, there's a lot of stuff around sort of like, hey, honesty about, youngsters writing about, using their chat GPT to write their essay for them, all of that. I totally get it, but at the end of the day, in the age of AI, you gotta teach differently. You gotta prepare youngsters differently, right? And there are different kinds of jobs as well that will not be necessarily be completely replaced by AI either. But for a lot of the, let's say, this is a business audience, so let's say you're in a business job, I would argue that no, the entry-level job doesn't exist anymore going forward, right? But entry-level job, how do you prepare for it? The answer is very simple. You prepare now, right? I have an 18-year-old son, right, who's into AI, obviously, because he has to, right? Or at least daddy tells him you have to, right? So, he's in the blockchain as well. You have to be in the cutting edge. And how does he prepare himself? By doing stuff right now. Right? So he has to be like, he has his own AI consulting firm, he is doing blockchain. You have to learn by doing. No one is going to teach you this stuff because the entry-level jobs, the analysis of that is done by AI at this point. You have to self-teach yourself. And by the way, I would say this, right? The way I did my high school and my university is even different from how people are doing it now, right? Especially universities. In top-tier universities, what do people actually do now? They actually work part-time. Or maybe they work full-time, they just go to school part-time, right? In fact, it's apprenticeship. That's what they're doing, in fact, right? They're really thinking through what are the career choices, trying out different internships, and really getting hands-on. There are universities that are built for that part-time environment, so that you learn from actual experiences, right? So no, the era of sort of like, hey, go in there, join Goldman Sachs, they give you like 3 weeks of training off that. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but that era is no longer going to be the norm, right? So it's very important to self-prepare and treat AI as a friend, and we, again, I'm just going to say this again and again, right? The agentic age is just on our doorstep, and this will make another transformation. This is going to be as transformative as personal computing to us, right? Personalized agents. And Jensen Huang actually yesterday said that every corporate will have to have an agentic AI agenda, and it's absolutely true because it's inevitable this is going to come.
I think I just want to add on from, if you are talking about hiring strategy now, right? Yes, it is that routine work, junior level jobs, right, is getting less opportunity. But on the other hand, a lot of times I felt like we are hiring new talent or fresh grads or younger talent is not just for what they perform as a task, but we also hiring them for their creative and curious minds. AI can perform tasks and jobs, but they cannot brainstorm with us. New ideas usually have to come from, people's mind. And a lot of times I felt like the more experienced people are, the less creative they become. Because they have experience, they have lots of learnings, and they have a lot of some boundaries and things to lose, right? Younger minds have less to lose, right? They're more open and they're more bold. So I do felt like at this point, right? I felt like we're still really in need of these kind of younger talents to help us grow and adapt and also build new products for the next age.
Yeah. I would like to share from an organizational view. So this year in SenseTime, we take a completely different approach. So previously, when we make an annual budget, we have a specific subject called human cost budget for this year. And so from year 2026, we changed the name called productivity budget. What this means that we allocate a budget that actually combines human resources and tokens. Okay. So that's our way to approach this new structural change of productivity. And actually we have some more ambitious role, which means that we will see, obviously, in the next 1 or 2 years to come, in the entire productivity budget, the ratio or the percentage of the tokens will have a very significant and substantial increase in this cost structure. So actually I agree with Evan that some of the jobs will obviously gone, and at least soon substantially. That's the reality that we have to face. And also, on the other hand, I think that the society, especially for the traditional sectors, it's very obvious that they are not very well prepared for this rapid or even very disruptive change. And so I think it's a responsibility for the entire, including the industry and the society and the education institutes, to work together to educate our society, especially the next generation of youth, to be well prepared.
And as as an AI company, you need to keep on innovating. As you said, you roll out, productivity budget and other things. Was it really hard to roll out these new initiatives, or like what kind of ritual, or routines or cultural practices that you actually do at your company to actively support innovation and creativity?
Yes, obviously, some of the colleagues who have left behind, they may face some pressures. But I think the good side is that because we are actually situated at the frontier of the trend in AI, so a lot of the colleagues, including in the R&D department, in the business department, they all have a very deep feeling of the trend. So they are actually autonomously, they learn a lot of AI too, including our call this in the, for example, finance department, HR department, they all use AI tools. So I can see that there's not a lot of significant barrier here and the resistance. What they're anxious about is that they are not learning fast enough. Okay, so I think that the entire company is embracing this new trend very quickly. And that's why we will see that a significant shift of the cost structure. Yeah.
And back to Hong Kong, where we're having this global talent forum in Hong Kong. So in order for Hong Kong to become an international talent hub, what kind of infrastructure is needed? Is it AI literacy a skill? Is it upskilling? Is it startup ecosystem? What's missing, and what would really prepare Hong Kong to become this central international talent hub?
I think it's a whole ecosystem. I agree with Evan that education is the start of it, and we're talking pre-undergraduate for people under 18 years old are able to really understand the world before stepping into specific school to know exactly what they need, because once they're in it, 4 years or 2 years or 3 years of education and training is really precious time, especially in this era. Within 6 months, things can change completely, and there are industries or products that used to exist that are irrelevant anymore, and we don't hear about that. And there are new products coming up and taking over, and new tools. So it's a very fast-paced era that we are at. So it's very important. Education is one. The ecosystem for innovators, those who have big ideas and could understand the world and care about impact and using innovation to these skills need to be nurtured. So definitely these startup hubs and the ecosystem around startup or emerging entrepreneurs are important to exist. Definitely seed or pre-seed capital investment to be provided to support at least prototype solutions or ideas. And those also who are not really passionate about becoming entrepreneurs, these preschool or pre-university programs, if they exist and in place, is very important to get some form of internship before going. I really support the idea of internship before university. I think it's very important for people under 18 to go and see what sectors are there, and then decide how they start early on really investing in what they're passionate about and what they're doing great at. This is also very important. It's what you care about, it's not necessarily what you can do the best. I think these are very important aspects, and Hong Kong is very well connected globally, and it has already so many opportunities and has all the features that are suitable for innovators, whether local innovators or those who are coming from abroad, to scale their solutions and their ideas, or actually even build their skills. I think it's a great hub, and it's innovators friendly. In other parts of the world, not necessarily we see the same dynamics, and not also in all sectors you don't see the same dynamics when it comes to innovation. There are sectors that are more built around conventional ways of doing things, and there are different sectors that are around services, which requires heavy sales efforts, which are still skills that are needed, right? And there are also other sectors that are product oriented, that doesn't require that much of human-to-human interaction, where AI can play that bigger role. So yeah.
As a Hong Konger, I want to take a swipe at it, right? Born and raised in Hong Kong. I think Hong Kong is very unique, but let me try to maybe, hopefully not be controversial, but I at least see it in this way. I think geopolitics is at the worst. I've actually seen, we've seen it, never seen anything like this in decades. I think China, Hong Kong is a little bit in a spot where it's getting a little bit maybe sort of isolated in a way, but not isolated in a way that has no friends, but sort of like the world is divided in a lot of ways. But this pushes a lot of the innovation, first of all, to mainland China, and therefore Hong Kong being the window of capital for China into a great opportunity space, right? Now, we already know for cutting edge people who use AI and develop AI, some models are not available in Hong Kong, right? Not the latest ones. That creates a divide, and therefore there are other answers like DeepSeek, other things. Now, the tech talent in China, mainland China, is amazing. The way that the China economy is constructed in terms of payment, even the Alipay, all of that, WeChat, it's just amazing. Nowhere else we see that, right? Robotics, EV, world leading, right? And China will continue to do that, but what is Hong Kong's role ultimately, right? Hong Kong's role is the capital window. Therefore, it's very easy to understand where the role really is. It's in the intersection of AI and therefore finance, whereas it's going to blockchain, right? Now, we have to understand this, right? The decentralization aspect of blockchain, while in a way that is about rethinking how do you think about finance, right? Now, in a environment where we're talking about stablecoin, CBDC, and all of that, you're talking about delegate authority and sort of like your banking being in your mobile phone, on your mobile phone ultimately, right? That plus AI agents ultimately will allow a regular mom and pop to invest like a professional investor, deploying AI agents into his wallet on $10 on continuous yield, right? These are very, very major breakthroughs. Now, Hong Kong, what it does need to do is to think policy first. Hong Kong people always say, you know, we have a very efficient government, you know, you go to immigration, you go get your ID, whatever, we're fantastic, where you have no queues and all of that. But this is a administration first, administrative forward government. It's not necessarily a policy forward government, right? A lot of things about, oh, this can go wrong, that will go wrong, very operational in a lot of ways, right? In order for Hong Kong to win, we have to ask the fundamental questions of what does the future economies need to look like? What would it look like in a divided world, in a conflict-prone world, right? What is that financial infrastructure plus the AI, agentic AI, lead us towards that would need to have reconstruction certain types of talent pools that we need. And therefore, how do we get the universities ready for it? How do you get the bureaus ready for it, right? So I think it's really important that we have to shift ourselves into much more of a policy forward thinking in order to support mainland China's innovation and become the capital window for mainland China.
Talking about policy first government, probably Omran has something to add?
Yes, sure. I was thinking about this, and these are very important points. But Hong Kong is doing great. I mean, globally, I can see that. But if I want, I can share the experience from the UAE. I think what would make things interesting is if we have the youngsters feel that they're part of the organization's strategy and achievements. If I join an organization and I feel like I am part of that success and achievement, then definitely I would be loyal to that organization. I would stay longer there, and I would even invite my friends to join. I think Hong Kong wants to be a hub for talent, even future-wise, right? So even in the future. For that to happen, it has to be a hub where talent is being attracted, not just because of the compensation, but because I feel like I am contributing. I think this sense of contribution is very important, and I support it. And it will help Hong Kong even achieve more.
And we'll take some questions from the audience. I'll just read from the board. The first one is, tech giants can offer huge salaries and global brands. If you're a startup or a mid-sized company in Hong Kong trying to compete for the same talent, what do you actually have to offer, and is that enough? Anyone wants to take a crack at that?
Actually, I would like to share a little bit about that because I am actually responsible for competing in this talent war in SenseTime.
But SenseTime is not a startup anymore, but it was a startup
But
to
we
begin
actually
with.
facing the challenges because there's some much bigger companies than us in this world, right? So we all know the news about for some Meta, right, paying crazy high salary for some of the talents, but it looks like they're not that successful, right? And up till now. So I think, as I just said, the key thing that can attract the top talents is not about the salary. It's not about the salary. It's about whether they can create their own future. That's the most important thing. So we have very great examples in Hong Kong. We just have 2 startup companies in Hong Kong just listed in Hong Kong Exchange, get very, very high capital market, right, in the market value. So all the talents see this. So what they think, especially the top talent, what they think about is a lot to get an awesome salary in tech giants. The top talent, what they really think about is that whether I can be the owner of a 7 million max in the last 1 or 2 years to come. That's what they dream about. So in SenseTime, actually what we talk to those talents is that we can provide some resources. We can provide a channel for you to access to the market, to understand what the market needs. We support you to build your own products based on your own ideas. And now we have this strategy called 1+X. What this means that a number of very talented product owners or research leaders, they ran out of SenseTime. They built their business, and they're very successful. And actually, the combined market value of those companies spun off from SenseTime is comparable to the group itself. So they see all the success, and it's real. So we just talk to those top talents. We provide this platform for you to create your own business. And SenseTime will share the success with you. And that's what I find as the most important thing that can attract the truly top talents. Yeah.
Because of time, time runs really fast. We're already coming to the end of the panel. But I think it's very interesting that we see that AI offers a very prosperous outlook for the world, right? With great productivity gains, with a lot of opportunities, but the benefit might not trickle down to everyone equally. We are seeing structural, polarization, restructuring of opportunities, and all these things. But I don't think the answer is anti-technology. The answer is, redesigning systems, like what we talk about. Redesigning how we teach students at schools, how we prepare them, how we restructure, teams, how we think about, using AI to drive for organizational growth. And we cannot wait for government to act. We cannot wait for schools to change. We have to be agents ourselves to prepare ourselves, to prepare the next generation for these great changes, because changes don't wait. So we are the ones who have to take action. And it's very interesting that the panel touches on the more powerful AI becomes, the more humane we have to be. I think AI is the accelerator, the magnifier, but humanity is the anchor. So let's wish all of us become, more anchored in our humanity and more humane, and all use technology to drive for more societal benefits. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, definitely we need to keep up. Now we'd like to invite our panel members to please gather at the center of the stage for a photo. And ladies and gentlemen, please once again give them a big round of applause to thank them for all their insights. Thank you so much for sharing from your experience. Truly provided a lot of practical tips and advice for organizations to rethink their talent strategies moving forward. Thank you so much for enlightening us. Thank you.